Hey, what's up guys? This is Hunter with Dial H for HeroClix, and today we are going to do a video review for the Guardians of the Galaxy starter set. Now this is from the movie set, not the comic set, which will release in about a month, around the end of July, early August. So like I said, this is for the movie set. You can pick this up in your local comic store, and I believe also at Target and the other stores that you can find the mass market figures. I know you can find the boosters there at those type of stores, and I'm pretty sure you can find this starter set as well. The MSRP on this is $24.99. It comes with 6 individual figures and their cards, of course. A PAC and rulebook, we're going to find out for sure, but it should be the 2014 PAC and rulebook. Object tokens, including ultras and terrain tokens. 1 two-sided map and 2d6. So what we're going to do today is go through everything, go through the effectiveness of each character, how unique the maps are, and then give you an idea of whether this is worth you spending $25 on. So first let's get to the figures. Alright, let's kick it off with 101 Star-Lord. He comes in at 75 points. He has 6 range, 1 bolt. And he has the standard symbols, no endom, no flight or anything, but he does have some improved movement. He ignores elevated and hindering terrain. He has one of the best traits I've ever seen in my life. It's called Hadron Enforcer. Once per game, give Star-Lord a free action and choose an unoccupied square of clear terrain within his range and line of fire. When you do, Star-Lord can use Pulse Wave this turn as if he occupied that square. So, I don't even need to explain to you how incredibly useful that is. One thing I thought of while I was reading it is you could, it says you have to, once per game, you give him a free action to choose the square, and then he can use Pulse Wave this turn as if he occupied that square. So it's not a free Pulse Wave. That's one thing to note. Because when I initially read it, I thought, oh, free Pulse Wave. It's not. The Pulse Wave isn't free. It's just this turn, if you want to, he can use Pulse Wave as if he occupied that square. But what is kind of cool about that is you could give him the action while you have clear line of fire to a good spot, and then once you've done that, you've marked that square. Now you could then running shot behind blocking or behind a wall or behind other characters, and then use Pulse Wave from that said square. So basically you just got a Pulse Wave off and you got yourself into safety afterwards. So that's a good thing to keep in mind when you play this guy. He also has running shot Psychic Blast on his top click, and toughness and a special damage power. This also adds greatly to his playability. Friendly characters adjacent to Star-Lord that share a keyword with him can be given non-free actions even if they have 2 action tokens. When they do, deal that character 1 unavoidable damage after actions resolved, and don't remove tokens from that character at the end of your turn, even if this power is lost or ignored. So basically, if you're familiar with the Masters of Evil team ability, he's giving Masters of Evil to adjacent friendly characters that share a keyword with him. His keywords are Guardians of the Galaxy, Pirate, Ravagers, Soldier, and Spartoy. So of course, mainly you're going to be using it with Guardians of the Galaxy, but also Soldier too could be useful. So he has Running Shot, Psychic Blast, and that on top click, and he alternates having that damage power with Perplex, so it'll switch on and off. He also does the same thing with Running Shot and this special movement power called Inspiring Commander, gives him Empower and Enhancement. So he's only 5 clicks long, which hurts him a little bit, but I think he has enough packed into this dial, particularly the Masters of Evil thing, the Running Shot Psychic Blast, and then the once per turn Pulse Wave from a square that people are not going to expect it to come from. I think that all adds up together to, I'm even going to give him a 5 out of 5. I think you may look at this dial and think, oh, he's got decent numbers, he's got a short dial, but I think there's enough packed in here where if you play him right with enough creativity and a good player, you can really get some great use out of this figure. He's just a great attack/support figure, which is how you kind of want your leader-ish character to be. Next up we have Rocket at number 102. He also is 75 points. He has 7 range with 2 bolts. He has standard symbols except he has tiny size, which is a very beneficial thing for him to have. That way he can be carried for free. He gets a +1 on defense from ranged attacks, and he doesn't block line of fire to bigger size characters. He also, which this is going to be key in my scoring of him, has improved targeting, ignores hindering, and ignores characters, which is excellent. Not just opposing characters, he ignores all characters, so even friendlies. He also has stealth and willpower and outwit, all on his top click. And then he has a special attack power, 2 big guns. Give him a power action. He may then make 2 ranged combat attacks as free actions. So keep in mind, with the new rules changes that came into play a few months back, he'll have to take -1 damage on that second shot. But I think the fact that he has outwit to outwit defenses will help him quite a bit whenever he does so. So typically I don't like ranged flurry because of the -1, changes, but him having outwit helps him get those shots through and make them count. I also just think that the stealth and the good range, 7 range, ignoring all these things on targeting is going to add quite a bit to his playability. It's unfortunate he doesn't have move and attack at the top of his dial, but again, remember he's tiny size, so it'll be easy to carry him and drop him into position. And since he's stealth, he should be safe from retaliation. Then his next 2 clicks, he gets energy explosion instead of the attack power. And mid dial he changes, he loses willpower, but he gets energy shield and he gets running shot. So I really like the dial. I think you got to keep him top click. I think you got to drop him off in hindering, let him do his thing, let one of your other characters go in and tie up and start, or send in your Drax or whoever and Gamora and let them do the melee. And once they have people tied up, then Rocket can shoot through them, through all the characters, outwit through all the characters, and start really making use of his 75 points. So I almost gave Rocket a 5 out of 5. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 5. I think his dial's really short, and if someone does get up on him, with him only having a 17 willpower, he's going to be easy to hit from melee, and he's going to go down super quick. So he's a little risky, but I think he's well worth it if you can get things tied up before you let him be vulnerable. Then at number 3 we have Gamora. Gamora has 2 point options, 100 or 75, and they are both worth playing. We'll talk about her mainly at the 100 point option. She has normal symbols except for Indomitable. She has a trait which is very good. Deadliest woman in the whole galaxy. You give her a free action and you choose an opposing character. When Gamora attacks the chosen character, modify her attack and damage by +1. Gamora cannot choose again until the chosen character has been KO'd. So this is excellent. Usually when we see things like this, either you have to choose the target at the start of the game, and usually it only lasts for that target. Hers you can choose at any time, so you can wait and see who you're going to end up attacking and then declare it before you're ready to actually do the charge, and attack. And she also has the bonus fact that once she kills that character, or anyone kills that character, she can then choose again. So she can keep on choosing, which not a lot of people can do when they have powers like this. So that's an excellent trait. She also has the Indomitable. She has great powers. She has charge. Her whole dial, she either has charge or plasticity sidestep. So sidestep's not quite as good as charge, but it's decent enough. She has precision strike for her first 3 clicks, and then blades for the last 4. Super senses for the first 4 clicks, and toughness for the last 3. And then a special damage power on her first 4 clicks as well. So she can use close combat expert, and when she does, if she hits an opposing character, you can modify one of that character's combat values by -1 until your turn. And that's even better than a perplex, because perplex will be negated as soon as that character takes damage. So the good thing about her power is she could get in, hit somebody, choose -1 defense, and even if the rest of your guys swarm in this turn on that character, that -1 modifier is going to stay on there. It's not going to come off like a perplex would. So I really like her. I think she has excellent playability at 100 points and at 75 points. For the extra 25 points, you're getting 2 clicks of life. I like both options. I think they're both well worth their points. I personally like the 100 point option just a tiny bit better. I think as long as you keep her safe from precision strike, because she does only have a 17 super senses and she could get one-shotted somewhat easily in certain situations. As long as you're mindful of the fact that she's weak to precision strike, I think she is an excellent character, and I too am going to give her a 5 out of 5 stars. The most expensive figure we've seen so far in the starter set, Drax, at 125 points, is a great piece. He has a 6 range. He has the Hadron Enforcer trait as well, the same one that Star-Lord had. So you give him, once per game, you can give him a free action, choose the square of terrain within his range of line of fire, which again is 6. And then he can use Pulse Wave this turn as if he occupied that square. So that's going to be useful. Who is going to expect this Drax, this piece that otherwise is a close combat monster, to all of a sudden be Pulse Waving from 6 squares away and hitting 3 squares away from that? So effectively hitting you from 9 squares away. I don't think anybody's really going to expect that the first few times you play him. He has an amazingly well-constructed and just packed dial. He has top dial charge, super strength, and exploit weakness with an 11 attack and a 3 damage, and impervious on top of that. He has, if you look at his dial, it's only 6 clicks long, which is a little bit, for 125 points you'll have to be a little safe with him, but he has that impervious to help him out. He has 2 clicks of invincible in the middle, and then he has 2 clicks of invul at the end, so you know that should help his longevity. But if you notice, the only 2 clicks that he doesn't have exploit weakness on, he has Close Combat Expert and Sidestep, a great combination that helps you get the most out of Close Combat Expert. So they really, and he has super strength on top of that as well, so if you sidestep over, pick up an object while you're doing it, then it makes it easier to decide what to pump your Close Combat Expert into. And then he has a couple clicks of Charge Blades or Flurry Blades, also with exploit weakness. So this dial is just packed with close combat goodness. And as long as he doesn't get shot down on his way in, as long as you have some way to carry him into the fight, he is absolutely just a monster. I also am going to give him a 5 out of 5 stars. The next character is, in my mind, was the hardest for me to grade, and it's Groot at number 5. He has 2 point options, 100 points and 75, so of course that adds to his playability, the fact that you have 2 options to play him on your team. He only has the Guardians of the Galaxy and Brute keywords. He has Boot symbol, Fifth symbol, Indomitable, and Giant size. And if you notice there, I wrote Giant size in the blue, in which for this signifies actually a negative aspect. Giant size most of the time is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. It's good because you have giant reach, which means you can carry, you can melee from up to 2 squares away instead of only adjacent squares. But it's also bad because it makes it a lot easier to get shot down on your way in, unless you can hit map, pick an indoors map, something with a lot of walls, and be protected on the way in. And the fact that he doesn't have stealth and he does not have energy shield or anything like that makes it more likely that he's going to get shot down. This is similar to the Giganta problem with the Superman Legion of Superheroes Fast Forces. This is a great figure, and if you can play it on the right map, it will be well worth its point value. But that giant size is going to hurt it in some matchups, so just keep that in mind when you play it. At 100 points, Groot starts with a really good top click. He has a special movement power where lines of fire drawn to opposing characters within 6 squares of Groot ignore hindering terrain. So he busts stealth from within 6 squares away for all of your characters, all of your friendly characters. He also has super strength with a 10 attack and Close Combat Expert with the 3 damage, so he has pretty good values as far as that's concerned. But the thing I like the most about this 100 point dial, and the reason that I prefer the 100 over 75, is this defense power. He can use Defend and Invulnerability, and he has an 18 value, so he's defending with an 18, which is really good. And I've noticed, and I've even mentioned it a few times, the rest of these pieces usually start out at a 17, so that 18 is going to be beneficial. And on top of the defend and the invulnerability, adjacent friendly characters can use toughness. So this will be good for that Rocket, who's a tiny size. So if you play Groot and Rocket together, you can throw another piece on there as well, because Groot, since he's giant size, can carry the other piece, and he can carry Rocket for free since Rocket's tiny. And then Groot can give Rocket toughness, and then the 18 defend, and then Rocket would also get his tiny size. So that could be a good combo and would fit, you know, comic accurate wise as well. I like this dial, and I think it has a pretty solid late dial too. The last 3 clicks he gets blades instead of super strength, and he gets shape change. So he's more of just a tie up annoyance piece. So I definitely don't think it's a 5 out of 5, but I am going to reluctantly give it a 4 out of 5 because, like I said, if you're playing a theme team and you get the right map, this guy can be exceedingly good. Just make sure you keep him safe as much as you can if you have to play him outdoors. And last but certainly not least, in fact maybe the best piece that we've talked about today, is number 6, Ronin. Ronin actually has 3-point options: 300 points, 200 points, or 100 points. The key thing about Ronin, aside from him having flight and indomitability, is his 10 range, 1 bolt, on top of his improved targeting, ignores hindering and characters. I cannot stress to you enough how amazing having 10 range plus ignoring characters on targeting will be. So let's talk about his different point options. At 300 points, you're going to start off with at 300 points only, he gets this trait called I Will Not Be Denied, where his powers cannot be countered. So that helps out, especially since he has a good defense power that people are going to be wanting to try to get rid of. His defense power is energy shield, deflection, and impervious, and he has an 18 defense on that. So he's going to be a pain in the butt to deal with without you being able to outwit that. And he has outwit, running shot, and pulse wave with a 12 attack and a 5 damage. So he's one of the few figures that at 300 points could potentially be a one-man army. At 200 points, I don't like him quite as much. That's probably the weakest of his 3 dials, but that still is a pretty solid dial. He has no move and attack. He has flurry instead, and he has precision strike and the same defense power and outwit. But I think he's best at 100 points, and this 100 point dial is just absolutely ridiculous. At 100 points, you only get 5 clicks of life, but you still have the 10 range, you still ignore characters on targeting, and you have a great starting values of 11 attack and 3 damage with charge, super strength, and close combat expert. And then he has invincible with that as well. So most people are going to be, they're going to see your charge and your super strength and your close combat expert and be expecting you to get into the fight. But what I would actually strongly suggest you do with this Ronin is make him an annoying sniper. Park his ass in hindering and just snipe people through any characters, through hindering terrain, from 10 squares away, ignoring all that stuff, with his 11 attack and his 3 damage. And just let him snipe people, and then make them come to you, and then get use of that super strength, close combat expert, and charge. And the other really good thing about this 100 point dial is at the very end of those 5 clicks, he has 2 clicks of what I lovingly call free gen when people get this type of power. It's called Reserves of Power. During the beginning of your turn, Ronin can use regeneration as a free action. So he gets to regen for free, possibly back up onto those killer clicks. Even if he misses regen, he still has pulse wave and a 17 energy shield defense, and phasing if you just really want to get him out of the fray and get him back to safety. Let him free regen up, onto those clicks. You have options there. I really like this figure, particularly at 100 points. I think at the 100 point Ronin is the best figure out of this whole starter set, and that's really saying something because he of course is getting a 5 out of 5 at all point values, but especially at 100. But that's really saying something because this is the best. These are the best dials if you take all of them together, not just one particular thing. Like, oh, Scarlet Witch was really good out of Chaos Warfest Forces, and oh, this figure was Oracle was very good from Streets of Gotham. But as a whole, This is the best starter set or Fast Forces pack of figures that they have ever produced, and I highly recommend getting these figures. Alright, so as you can see, this is in fact the 2014 PAC and the 2014 Rulebook. For most of us, this is the first chance to get our hands on these. So if you're a judge and you really want to have the better version of these things in the official format, this is worth picking up. You can also see there that we get some terrain markers. They now package 6 smoke clouds instead of 4 now that they changed smoke cloud. 4 barriers and 2 special terrain tokens. I kind of like that format better anyways, because you'll find yourself using smoke cloud a lot more often than you ever will need special terrain anyways. And then you can also see there we have ultra heavies and ultra lights. So if you did not pick up the Captain America starter that had some of each, or if you did not pick up the Sentinel pack that I think just had ultra heavies, then this is another excellent chance to pick up these objects. So this is a bonus in my side. We finally got the 2014 PAC and Rulebook, and you get ultra objects as well.
Then we have the maps. This side is called the Kiln. It is indoors, and really there's nothing notable about this map. There's some walls on this side of the map that you can hide behind on your approach. The starting areas are on the horizontal sides of the map there, and there's some elevation change here from 2 down. There's some hindering to hide in here and there, kind of spread out, and there's very little blocking. It actually reminds me a lot of the War of the Light Month 2 map. Really, like I said, there's nothing notable about this map, sadly. There's nothing that makes it unique or special. It's just a solid average map. Other side is a little bit prettier. It's the Nova Corps headquarters. It is also an indoor map, and it's unique a little bit in that, again, both sides start on the starting area, start on the horizontal sides of the map, but this whole entire side here on the left is on level 1, and you have to make your way up and around onto those stairs to get up to level 2, which has a little room in there. So really, honestly, whoever starts on this side, if they have a good range team, is going to really get a chance to get there on the ledge and shoot you as you approach. So I gotta think, the bad thing about maps like this is the winner of the dice roll picks map, but then the other player gets to choose the side. And if you need to have a really good reason to pick this map, because most people are going to pick that side and they're going to shoot down on you on your approach. So that's something to keep in mind when picking this map. But it looks nice. There's a big giant chunk of hindering there in the middle. It's like a nuclear reactor type thing. And then you have these little squares, 2x2 squares of blocking to help you hide a little bit. Since this is indoors, those blocking are going to go all the way up. So that'll help keep you protected a little bit on your approach. But I do like it, and I like the way it's constructed.
Alright, so now that we've discussed everything individually, let's go over the package as a whole, talk about whether it's worth $25. These are probably some of the best starter pieces or Fast Forces pieces that WizKids has ever made. In fact, if you go back through my ratings, I never scored any of these pieces below a 4 out of 5, and my scores are I tend to be a little harsh. Like, it takes a lot to get a 5 out of 5 for me on these scores. Sometimes you guys even complain about how strict I am on these scores, and the lowest pieces in here got 4s out of 5s, and I had 4 of these guys got 5 stars. So that really should tell you something about how effective I think these dials will be play wise. The sculpts are okay. The maps are okay too, and you're also getting, if you haven't yet gotten, you're getting a chance to pick up some ultra heavy objects and ultra lights, and then you're also getting the 2014 PAC and Rulebook, which for most of us is the first time ever that we have a chance to get a hold of those in the standard printed form and not just like the print and play form. But honestly, the big draw for this is of course the dials. That's what most of you guys care about when you buy these starter sets, and I'm here to tell you that this starter set is well worth it. These dials are amazing. It's almost worth paying $25 just for these dials. If you're like me and you're a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, or you just play theme teams a lot or Marvel clicks a lot, like these are some great great figures, and it's well worth picking up, especially if you need objects and PAC, the new versions of everything anyways. If you need all that already, then there's no excuse for you to not go ahead and buy this. This is the best starter set or Fast Forces set that they have ever done as far as the dials. So I hope that helps you make your decision. And be sure to tune in to Dial H for HeroClix podcast. We have episodes every week. You can find them on iTunes, here on our YouTube channel, or at podbean.com.